So good morning, everybody. At BDO, we've launched our ambitious entrepreneurial focus. And the reason for this is that as people come out of the last 18 months, what we are seeing is a real emergence of strong and ambitious businesses that are looking to change the way that we're working, grapple with the change that they've got, and really look at how they build strategies that drive forward their businesses. And so today we're looking at this concept of growth mindset and how we transform strategy into actual action. So in context, we've got a lot of innovation going on out there, a lot of change in the market, changing customers, and there's a real pace going on with businesses that we see and talk to. And we've seen ambitious entrepreneurial more than any other area really grappling with those new markets and products and the way that we engage with our customers, and also the shifting pressures of how we work. And we're also seeing some great trends coming through. We're seeing increasing digitization. We're seeing the whole globalization agenda, as we've learned that we can work pretty much anywhere in the world from our laptops. Topics such as ESG and how we look at our responsibilities within the environment, and also very much changing investor and funding patterns as businesses that maybe historically we'd consider to be smaller than businesses might list or float, but actually choosing to take those decisions. So this is a real exciting space. But also coupled with that, we've been conducting some research at BDO, talking to businesses, and what we found is there are some common themes out there. We're seeing a real war to attract talent. Probably the biggest barrier to growth that anyone is reporting is the ability to find the right people to enable them to push forward their business. The need of purpose within the business, that it's not enough just to be seeking profit, but actually the business has to stand for something and believe something. And the ability to compete and stand out in what is an increasingly crowded world, and the desire to drive efficiency. But probably the most striking result that came out was that actually 75% of ambitious entrepreneurial businesses surveyed said that they did not feel that they had a meaningful strategy that could ride any future storms. That's the basis of the ebook and the research which we've conducted. That's available for download for free. So please just have a look in and download that after this if you haven't done so already. But it's also the focus of this webinar. So today I'm joined by what I'm sure you will agree are three fantastic business leaders and also three fantastic businesses. And we've tried to make sure we've got a nice range here. So today we've got Julie Chen, CEO and co-founder of Cheeky Panda, describes herself as an eco-entrepreneur and produces bamboo-based products and selling to over 25 countries. Available in all good supermarkets. There you go, Julie, a little bit of a plug. We're also joined by Andrew Collis, who's the CFO of Moneypenny, brings a strategic and commercial perspective to this. And Moneypenny delivers outsourced communication services globally, including outsourced PA, chat management, and lots more as well. And we'll be hearing more about that. And then also joined by Sarah Page, who's MD, a third-generation family member of a family business called Plumbs, which manufactures reupholsters furniture and soft furnishings. We were just talking before this. This was the original eco business as well. So basically all that upcycling and recycling the furniture. So an absolutely fantastic business. And Sarah's going to help us think about maybe those more traditional businesses and how they grapple with change and modernize. So really delighted to have them with us. And so actually, I'm just going to hand over now to each of those in turn and start with you, Julie. Just if you'd just like to explain a little bit more about your background, about the business and some of the challenges that you're grappling with.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Julie from Cheeky Panda. I'm CEO and co-founder. The Cheeky Panda produces eco-friendly, hypoallergenic tissue paper products. Everything is made from bamboo. So our product includes toilet paper, facial tissue, kitchen rolls, baby wipes, baby nappies. Even now we have paper straws. Everything is made from bamboo simply because it's the world's fastest growing plant. It's ultra sustainable. And also, yeah, we're selling in Waitrose, Ocado, Boots, Superdrug, #1 bestseller on Amazon as well. So yeah, the business has been growing as fast as bamboo. This is the 5th year. Yeah, it's super exciting journey. Very delighted to be invited here.
Brilliant. Julie, and just very quickly ask you a question there, because in terms of the background and how the business started, what made you start that business?
Yeah, it all came from a trip to China about 5 years ago when I took my partner to see my parents. I grew up in China. And we took the chance to see a manufacturing site which is surrounded by bamboo. We're just amazed how much bamboo is there, but they're not used enough. But it can be used, it can be turned into anything, include like toilet paper. Lots of amazing products can be produced from this amazing resource, but only 10% were used. 90% was like still not used. And we, at that time, is when we saw, why are we cutting down trees that take 20, 30 years to grow? We have this amazing resource, we're not using it. And that's when we saw we have to launch this business. And that's when Cheeky Panda was born.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are lots of people on the call actually who'd love to know the million-dollar question, which is how you go from concept of, you know, hang on, we've got this fast-growing product, we can use that to make all sorts of household goods, to actually breaking into Waitrose and Booths and all those other supermarkets and being a #1 seller on Amazon. How do you shift from a I've got a great idea to a I've made it?
Well, it's lots of hard work. Waitrose took 5 years.
Yeah.
We've been trying to knock Waitrose door since day one, but yeah, this is the fifth year, and we eventually the buyer said yes. Yeah, so we start from 3 stores in London as naturally intended when they were quite small. That's our first retailer, and then later on we slowly get into Whole Foods Market, Planet Organic, so this kind of niche organic channels, as well as selling online on Amazon. We start with like £1,000, and later on it turned into 10 grand, and now it's #1 bestseller on Amazon. So it's and then yeah, at the same time we knock doors with all the supermarkets, and eventually yeah, it takes a lot of persistence, determination, patience as well, because buyers change a lot all the time. Every half a year we got a new buyer. Yeah, it just there's no shortcut. It's lots of hard work.
Really interesting. And Julie, last question I've got is just around your team. So help us just understand a little bit more about where you're based, the size of your team, and your organization from that point.
Yeah, so we started this business from spare bedroom, typical entrepreneurial story. Yeah. And now, yeah, we have an amazing office in London near Monument. We have 22 people in London, 10 people were in China. So globally, 32 people. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And I should have said actually at the start, people listening, if you've got questions, please fire those in through the Q&A functionality. We'll pick those up. If we pick them up as we go along, we'll ask them, and otherwise there's time at the end for questions and answers. But, you know, I'm sure there, Julie, there's questions about things like supply chain and all of that as well, in terms of, you know, I think we've heard a lot of that from the news headlines, haven't we? And I suppose manufacturing toilet tissue at the start of COVID was probably a good thing. So was it?
Yeah, the business last year when everyone is buying toilet paper, so the retailers who we were trying to knock doors for ages suddenly all come to us and say, do you have stock? So yeah, all the stocks sold out, and the sales kind of jumped like 3 times. Yeah, and it did actually push the growth quite significantly. However, it does also brings challenge to this year when supply chain becomes more challenging. We have also grow for real, not grow because of COVID demand. We have to grow because there's demand for our products. But luckily, yeah, this year our turnover is again doubling last year. So yeah, it kind of it helps us in a way, but now brings challenge in another way.
Brilliant. Julie, thank you so much. And as I said, if you've got questions about any of that, and as we carry on through, please do put those in. Andrew, I'm going to hand over to you now. Tell us a little bit more about Moneypenny and what it does and how it fits, and again, kind of some of the challenges you've been dealing with.
Good morning, Mark. Morning, all. Pleasure to be here. So Moneypenny, we're outsourced communications provider. So we're the #1 in the UK. We provide outsourced telephone services, PA services, increasingly moving into live chats. So when you go onto a website and you're engaged in a chat conversation, we're increasingly providing those services as well. and the full suite of communication services that a business may need. And we're increasing our presence in the US as well. So we started up in the US 5 years ago. One of our challenges is we bought a business in the US in March 2020, 3 weeks before lockdown. So all the things that then brings. And the business is 21 years old. It was founded in 2000. But it very much still holds that entrepreneurial, small business, quick growth mindset. And we stay true to that in everything we do day to day.
Yeah, and help me a little bit there, Andrew, because this idea, things like virtual PAs and switchboards and all of that, what from first of all, I suppose a COVID point of view, just looking quickly back at that, did that change demand there? But also just in terms of that trends and understanding a bit more about how you're seeing that in terms of changing demands and requirements from businesses in a new world, effectively.
Yeah, so I think the initial piece of the lockdown around April, May 20, everyone in the country went to work from home, and literally all activity just fell off a cliff, as it did for a lot of businesses. So that brought huge challenges about what's next. What we then saw was actually things started to come back quite quickly around June, July time last year. And actually the way the business world is now, the way companies are increasingly operating with remote or hybrid and office as well, that's been it's been a big advantage to us. We've pivoted a little bit. The business grew on servicing small businesses, SME businesses, taking phone calls on their behalf, acting as that business. And very much that was the bread and butter of the business, but increasingly we've now, that's still core to what we do, but actually focus on big corporate clients and the opportunities there. So for example, big legal firms or accounting firms outsourcing their switchboards. And because they don't necessarily have the need that they did prior to COVID. So that's been big for us, and increasingly new products and services like live chat, which is something that's really come around in the last couple of years. And again, everyone's increasingly buying things online, and again that plays into that as well. So it's continuing to adapt and pivot to the new world that we're in, really.
Yeah, and I mean, your business at the end of the day, very much a people-based business. I assume it's all about the quality of the people you've got that you're providing for those services and the quality of the service. Just on that point I made before about the hunt for talent or the competing demand, and again we hear that in the news headlines. How do you go about standing out and making sure you get the people to deliver the services you want?
Yeah, it's exactly that. So we are a people business. We've got 800 people in our head office in Wrexham. We're now up to 200 people in the US. And it's like every business, keeping our current talent is absolutely key. So making sure it's attractive in terms of the workplace. We've got a great office. We built this office in 2016, and the culture and our people are absolutely the centre of that office. They help design the office as well. So actually what we've seen even the last 2 months is our people really want to come back to the office. We've not forced them. They just want to be back around their work friends, their workmates, and living and breathing that culture. So that's been really powerful for us. But we continue to recruit. So we're currently recruiting for 200 new PAs. And it's exploring all social media avenues. We've been holding recruitment open days. We had our first in-person recruitment open day 2 Saturdays ago. We had 70 people turn up. We offered 20 people jobs on the day. So again, it's just innovating and looking and exploring new ways of recruiting people and attracting to the talent you want to bring into your business.
Brilliant. And I suppose the last question I've got just at this stage is around the breaking into the US. come on, that's one of those things that I've heard many businesses many times say, yeah, we'll go big in the US, we'll make it there, and then they kind of a few years later start reporting protectionism, or that it's difficult to make it there, or they just didn't know how to get traction or something like that. And you're sat there and did you say 200 people working down in the US?
Yeah, so we had 50 people in the US with the Moneypenny US, which we set up in 2016, and we had success with Moneypenny US. We then bought another business called Voice Nation in March 20, and that with it brought 150 people. And that already had a more established client base, which we then built and developed. And it was longer serving to the US markets. So that's almost helped accelerate our US growth and client penetration. And then increasingly, we're starting to position that into some more of the traditional Moneypenny client base, and also starting to look at the bigger corporates as well in the US, which is no easy feat, because you're going from almost zero into, okay, who are we in the US, and building that brand there.
Fantastic. So again, people, if you've got questions out there, anything to do with whether that's to do the attraction of talent, the shift to online, the digitization, the break in America, just fire those questions in, and I'm sure we've got insights here. So last of all, I'm going to hand over to Sarah Page as well. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, Plumbs is a business that I've been out to see you there, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic business. And I suppose over to you. Tell us a little bit more about it. Tell us a bit more about how things are changing there, and probably explain a little bit better about what you do compared to what I said. So Sarah, over to you.
Morning, everyone. Great to join you today. So I currently, I'm in charge of our family business, third generation. So we reupholster furniture, we recover furniture, and we make curtains. And we've had quite an interesting time, along with, I'm sure, all your businesses as well, during COVID. And as I was explaining to Mark beforehand, we have had to reinvent ourselves many times over the last 60, 70 years, reflecting marketplaces, crises, assorted, and I think COVID has been one of those other opportunities. I know it's had all the connotations of ill health and problems for people, but I think in a business context, it's been a period of real innovation, not just for us, but for lots of other businesses. And actually, I think the outcome of it will have shown great change. I think for me personally, having had a total meltdown last year, thinking that the business would go from us, and not feeling great about that, as I employ half my family, we kind of moved on and regrouped and thought, right, we've got to survive. That was our ultimate priority. Had a great team, great financial strategic FD who was very supportive through that, helped us find a way through. But during that also bleak time, there was the need for us to think about where's our future customer, what are we going to do? Basically, our service is in home. We come to visit the customer in the home, and we're invited every week into about 1,500 homes to show our swatch books and give a free quote. But we didn't have an e-commerce service, and so people were stuck at home, and in effect, our business dried up overnight. If you can't visit in the home, and certainly COVID didn't go with that message, we suddenly hadn't got an offering. So we sort of pushed forward and started looking at how we might be able to deal with a younger audience, but also somebody who didn't want anybody in the home, but still wanted a recovering of their furniture. So I'd love to say I was the driving force, but my eldest daughter got cracking, and we launched a brand called Cover My Furniture, which was basically copying people's covers that they already had on their furniture. And it's had its first birthday. It delivered a nice 250,000 and was our first dip in the water. But what that small project did was give us real momentum to look at a brand new brand, which will be online, which we launch next Monday.
Brilliant. So, hey, there we are, fresh, hot off the press, brand new launch of new service, new product, however you phrase that. And I kind of made the comment before, but I mean, I love, what I love about Plumbs is actually this, we talk a lot about this kind of environmental side of things, and thinking about the changing world around us. We've got COP26 going on. But then you kind of look at this third generation business and it's kind of like, yeah, we've always been doing this, haven't we? This is what we do. So I suppose if you've got old chairs out there, please do reach out to Sarah's Business Plums, and that'd be fantastic. But Sarah, I mean, one thing we touched on before is it is effectively a manufacturing-based business as well, isn't it? And how you phrase that. But we were very privileged. We could actually lock ourselves away in our homes, and basically as COVID hit, we were able to keep ourselves safe and get our team safe. You had to carry on because you manufacture things, you make things. What was that like?
The initial lockdown was absolutely gloomy, to be honest, because we had about £2 million worth of work sitting around the factory waiting to be made, no staff and no ability in which to operate. And we found that really tough. We didn't know what would come out the other side and how customers would respond. But actually, it's been a fantastic story for people investing in their home over the last 12 months. As soon as the first lockdown sort of lifted, customers came back with a vengeance. And that really spirited me on, because it meant the customer was still interested in the product that we offered. And then we had to just negotiate how we were going to build our home service again. We sell to a lot of older customers, and therefore they were somewhat more vulnerable with their health. So that promoted a lot of rethinking of how we could approach calls. And I had a wonderful story of one of my top salespeople managing to do a sales call in the garden through a window. Which I thought was fantastic, that the customer was receptive to be so open-minded. But so I think for manufacturing, it was very difficult. We were eternally grateful that we were able to go back to manufacturing, and our staff were glad to get back, because we obviously had to do all the work that everyone else did to make the factories safe. But we have about 330 people that we employ across a number of sites, our main one here in Preston. And it was an interesting time getting people back and feeling safe and getting cracking. But people came back apprehensively, but very quickly got back into it. And we're just really grateful for having a job and being busy, to be honest, which was great.
Brilliant. And last question here, and then we'll go into the wider questions. But family business.
Yeah.
Okay. So and everything you're describing here is this incredibly entrepreneurial business. You're constantly looking to see, come on, what do we have to do? How do we make this work? From your point of view, how does being a family business make things different? Is it an important part of what you're about? Is it just an aside and just happens to be how it's owned? Interested in your perspective on that.
Oh, it's a great question. I don't know anything else. I've been working in the family business since I was 14. So it comes with a passion, it comes with a drive. I love what I do. I love every day of working. And it's something ingrained within me, within the business. And don't get me wrong, it's extremely challenging working with 14 members of your family on top of all the other, rules, regulations, etc. Everyone has ambition, and you've got to manage that as the founder to make sure that you're putting people in jobs that they can do, and also that they have an opportunity to add to what is actually their heritage as much as mine.
Sarah, you've nicely teed up the first question then. So I'm going to open this up as kind of general questions, but I will kick off with you, Sarah. Look, so we've got this concept of growth culture. Okay, and just to explain that to everyone on the call, I think we're all used to performance cultures where I get recruited, I do a role, and in that role I get set objectives and I get hopefully helped in achieving those objectives. And that's kind of a traditional way of businesses working. But by getting a growth culture, and you teed it really nicely there, Sarah, you get this idea that actually this is about we have individuals within our business, we have talent, we have potential, we have people that can solve problems and so forth. And so effectively, rather than having the entrepreneur drag the business with them towards what they're wanting to try and achieve, actually what you're trying to do is get the team pushing you along, everyone working together to try and achieve those common visions and goals. So Sarah, kick off with you. How does Plums go about getting the right culture and the right engagement from the team?
I can only speak for what we do, but I think the primary thing is that everyone has a contribution to make. And it's about giving, once the initial concept's there, it's about seeing how you can draw on the different strengths of the team. I don't think one person has all the answers. I think the important thing is to bring your team together, loads of talking. I'm a great believer in, I've got an idea, let's talk it through. And actually half an hour later with any one of your team, they've added some real enrichment to a part of the idea or to the concept. And slowly over a period of conversations, you go from something that was quite a small idea to really having value. And of course, once you add that value in for your team contributing, they're bought in. You know, you're not dragging anybody, they want to be part of it. That has to come with some passion and some excitement. And I think people are really up for it at the moment because everyone's fed up of misery, doom, gloom, media, you know, it's all over type of thing. And we've really got to help our team step out of that and to say, look, we've got to be thinking about where the next customer's coming from, how we're going to adapt and change, and you know, come and join in. You've got that contribution to do. And as I say, I referenced before, you know, my kids are, you know, keeping me sharp because they're so far ahead of me on the whole social setup and you know, what's current and what's happening in trends. And you've got to listen. And therefore you bring that into your own experience, your own practical way of operating, and you know, hopefully the result means that you have growth opportunity and you seize them.
And how does that translate to, you said 300 people working across a couple of sites, and so I get you might have your board, you might have those that are near you and talking to them, but does that extend beyond and up to the factory floor, the shop floor, and how does that engagement work?
You've got to walk the floor every day because it's all back to this listening. You know, we love to think we have all the answers as leaders, but actually the gem of information comes from the people who work for you, the things that you're reading, the things that you're listening to. And it sounds cheesy, but that's it. You know, it's if you shut yourselves away and just think the team of 8 around your senior table are going to give you all the answers, you're far off the mark. And it's in those conversations, whether it be with customer, whether it be with your sales team or whatever, you know, I mean, I've just picked up a few things just through the 2 other speakers there. You know, we haven't got live chat at the moment. Great, let's do it.
There you go, Andrew.
You talked about purpose. I was in a really interesting meeting on Tuesday and they were talking about this audit of your purpose, what you're trying to achieve. And I thought that was really interesting. And who knows? I mean, we're doing so many fabrics now with recycled materials. We haven't got a bamboo one in the arena. My point being that just in the space of the last half hour, there's a few nice little gems come in. Some ideas may come to nothing, but some may have real legs. And before you know where you are, you've launched a whole range of bamboo covers and you're off and away. So it's about listening and thinking, can I take anything from that? And I do that all day, every day, basically.
That's fantastic, Sarah. And also, I mean, you just ooze this positivity. And as you say, you know, you actually, when you hear the story of the business, you've been through a lot, but that responsibility of you as the leader to create and instill positivity through the team. I absolutely love that. Andrew, I'm going to just pass the same question to you, really, because again, people-based business there, you've got your teams in 2 locations, etc. How do you go about getting the team working together, pulling together to those common goals?
Yeah, a couple of the points that Sarah made absolutely resonated with what we do at Moneypenny. So it's absolutely listening to our people. It's walking the floors and listening and talking, engaging with people. And you hear different problems that you wouldn't be aware from your immediate management team. And equally, then in terms of the goals and setting those and this new world and way of working is then sitting, listening, and sitting with your team and framing that problem, what that vision looks like. Where do we want to go to? What do we want to be? Where are the new opportunities in the marketplace for us? So we've done that a lot recently in the last 3 months. And once we did that, there was a lot of talking, reiterating what that looks like. We then communicated that back out to the company and the staff. So we had a number of company meetings back end of September, recommunicating that vision and also what the next few months look like, because there's a lot of uncertainty out there. So back to Sarah's point, people it's been a bit gloomy. People are a bit down, and actually, what we found when we deliver those messages through the company meetings, there's a real excitement and engagement and a sort of a hunger to get back to it and back to what normal was.
Yeah, and thinking about the fact you've got that acquisition in the US, 150 people coming in, that's a decent proportion of the business. And actually, we've not been able to go to America for a decent chunk of time. So that walking the shop floor, get it in a proximity point and being able to do it around Wrexham. But in terms of bringing in a business and meaning that you've got people working together in that context, how does that work?
Yeah, it's been difficult. So the last 7-8 months, we've not been able to travel out there. I actually fly out on Monday, so that's the first day we can go out. So 5 to 6 flights on Monday morning out to the US. So, but with the absence of that, that's been more difficult. It's all been done pretty much remotely, and we've got a leader out in the US, and we've empowered him. He's brought a couple of people in around him, and also developed the existing team. And we were able to bring Eric, our leader in the US, over to the UK a month ago. And within a week of us seeing the culture here, he absolutely got it. He said, wow, I understand it now. Without experiencing firsthand, that's been difficult. But we do have tools. So we use Workplace, which is it's like a Facebook product for in the workplace. Communication, people post on there, whether it be stories and what's happened to them outside work, or someone's done a great job and praising for great service to a client and building that. And we've really helped develop that in the US as well. So that's helped develop that culture there as well.
Brilliant. Julie, same question across to you, really. I mean, you've got the team in the UK, team in China, about, if I remember the numbers, about 30 people total, isn't it, in terms of that? Really fast pace of change, though, Julie, in terms of what you're doing, launching new products, changing world, everything going on for you. I don't know how you do that. But how do you go about getting the team working with you so they're not just employees, but they're actually a team who are passionate about you, all that you are?
Yeah, so our work culture is have fun, get shit done.
Yeah, I'll quote that one, guys.
Yeah, in order to get shit done, it doesn't mean that work hard. It means sometimes work smarter, work better, more efficient. So we encourage this kind of innovative culture where people bring in ideas, better way of doing things. For example, our team will come up with idea of automation efficiency, or like better strategy in marketing, for example. Let's say great leaders create more leaders, not followers, and that's what I believe. Yeah. It's about empowering our team members. Like what Andrew said, it's about empower people. It's not about they need to listen to what I say or what any manager say. It's about they come up with their own innovative way of solving problems, grow the business and take ownership. And that's kind of the culture we try to encourage across the business. And that way, it's not the founders driving the business, it's actually the team driving the business forward.
And help me a little bit with that, because I mean, I'll stick with you, Julie, but others please jump in as well. You're constantly trying to bang the doors down of Waitrose, and I'm sure you're trying to bang down Sainsbury's and Asda and all the other supply chains that other markets are available. But as you're busy kind of banging on those doors, I think you're in over 20 countries and et cetera, that's a lot of your time. And then you're telling me that all of you are saying you've got to walk the floor and get to meet people. You've got to come up with new ideas. There's only 24 hours in the day, unless you found that and answered that one. How does that work? How do you manage to get the floor walking and talking to the team and engagement with the team working when you're busy trying to actually get the business growing and launching new products and etc.? I mean, Julie, start with you, but others please just jump in as well. So.
Yeah, so it's quite challenging. It's a lot of juggling. We've got we employ young talents in the very early stage of the business. A lot of people we employ is actually just graduated from university. Although they don't have experience, they don't have a lot of experience, but they are just passionate about what Cheeky Panda is doing. They really bought into the goal, the ethic of the business, and they're very committed. And these young talents, they come up with ideas and fresh thinking that people who in this industry for ages probably wouldn't have thought of. And that's when we got this young, enthusiastic, innovative culture coming from, but they also need guidance. So I did spend a lot of time guiding them, giving them training, personally, coach them personally. But it does get into the point when the business grows so fast and my time become quite limited. So I have to choose my focus, and then some of the team, they have just to self-manage themselves. But we get to this point, now we are hiring more senior team. So we just brought in Giles Blue, who was CEO of Vita Coco, who grew business from 10 million to 300 million in the last few years. And he helped putting together a senior management team who have expertise in retail sales, in supply chain, in finance function, which me as an entrepreneur, I didn't have this kind of expertise. No, I haven't worked in FMCG for 20 years. I haven't worked in supply chain for 20 years. So the senior management team will help guiding our different functions going forward and take the business to the next level. And during this transition, I can focus my time more on things I feel I'm more good at, passionate about, for example, product development. So we kind of in this kind of transition at the moment when I'm kind of juggling everything to now, okay, going forward, I can choose my focus and let the professionals do their job, let them guide and bring the business to the next level.
Yeah, and Julie, that is such a powerful message. We've got a business model that talks about why businesses cap out at different levels. So, you just pull the data out of the marketplaces and you see that businesses cap out at 5 million turnover, and they cap out at 25 million, all that. And what you've just cited there is the number one barrier to break to actually enable your business to grow. It's this idea that so many entrepreneurs feel that they have to be the fount of all knowledge. They have to be the one that does everything. And what you just described there is, no, there comes a point where you have to recognize there's things you're passionate about that you very much want to carry on doing, but bringing the team in around and basically helping the business to scale up. So I love that, Julie. Thank you. Sarah, Andrew, your thoughts on that about time, beating time and being able to do everything under the sun?
I think time is precious to us all, and it's a permanent challenge to fit everything in. I think when you're working on something that is quite new and exciting, that in itself has its own momentum, and somehow you seem to gain time to, everyone wants to join in on that. I think I have to diarise things like walking the floor, and that probably doesn't fit with what I said earlier, but it's very easy to get carried away and swept away with the new and the exciting or the current problem. And so I diarise it. So it makes me keep that grounding function in, and because I know how important it is, and I know how beneficial it is. So I think any business leader is challenged by time, depending on the crisis that's coming in. And I think you make a really valid and great point about your team and trusting your team and getting the right people in. And that takes some time to do, because as a business evolves and changes, what was there is not necessarily the right combination. You've got to continually be reviewing that team. I don't mean moving people on. I'm just meaning playing to those people's strengths and what can they add to what you're working on at any one time. So I think a great element of trust that the backbone of the business is continuing to work, and you just are dipping into that less often. You've got your eye on the numbers all day, every day. That's the key thing. You've got to be keeping a look on your key markers, or whatever they are to your business. But I think if you get that run rate of knowing what what the benchmark is for that, you can get a snapshot of your business within 5 minutes in the morning and see if anything's starting to drift. So that allows you to give time. Obviously, if something starts to drift, I had a situation yesterday where I just spent all day on a small problem where the numbers had gone adrift, and it wasn't what I wanted to be doing, but was critical for the business. So you've got to be adaptable to be able to swing from what you're pushing forward as a new growth opportunity or a new strategy to also keeping your eye on what is your base.
Brilliant. And Andrew?
So Julie and Sarah used two keywords which we live and die by, which is empowerment and trust. So use the example of the vision, and increasingly looking at some large corporates and outsourced switchboard. We've then set our vision, we've let the team go and do that, and some of the conversations they're having and some of the successes they're having in that arena are absolutely fantastic. So it is that, because if you try and do everything, you will sink.
Yeah. So just aware of time as well, and we've got one other big topic which links into this, and you've actually alluded to it again here. It's this, we set these visions and plans, and being honest, when we go in and do meet businesses and do workshops with them, we see that often they have a vision. They call it a strategy, but they have a vision for what they want. And because we've all got our biases, we might be into marketing, we might be into innovation, we might be into sales or something like that. It actually probably relates to the thing that we naturally are focused on. How do you go about making sure that the vision turns into a strategy, and the strategy is something which is actually embedded into the organization itself, so that it is all pushing in the same direction? Andrew, I'll start with you, but again, others jump in.
It's two key things. One is the vision, and then translates into a strategy which is simple, which can be easily articulated to people. I've seen it in the past where organizations are trying to be too complicated, too detailed on a strategy, and you lose people. Almost, if you can write that down on 1 or 2 pages and you can articulate that, people will clearly understand that. And in terms of then transferring that through an organization, it's through communication, and almost you can't communicate it too much. So almost every conversation you're having with people, you're walking the floor, it's there snippets there of that strategy where you can relate back to what they're doing day to day, back to that strategy, that vision. So yeah, definitely over communication of that and simplicity.
And Andrew, linked to that, I mean, because we've all been there. You get your investors or your lenders or whatever it is, and therefore when I talk about KPIs, everyone says, oh, it's your EBITDA, it's your profit, it's your sales, or whatever, and we all know those KPIs and they get rattled off. But when we think of an organization, you think of the people on the floor, you think of the people, yes, the service that you provide, you think of etc. Business is more complex. How do you make sure that what you are setting out as those targets are not just very superficial, high-level ones that everyone uses, but they're actually the things that are needed to drive your business forward?
Yeah, and we've recently just done an exercise looking at those KPIs and metrics by almost function to operations, sales, marketing. You're right about investors and the financial ones, but the financial success and the development of those KPIs almost comes through the day-to-day and delivering of sales and operations. And we actually found, for example, our PAs, we maybe went a little bit too KPI metric heavy 2 years ago, and we've actually listened to them and we've pulled back on that and we made it more simple. One of the KPIs that I absolutely look at every day, every week is our customer retention. And our client retention's at record lows, which is great. But what that tells us is actually we're doing the right thing by our clients. We're having great conversations on behalf of our clients, or great conversations via live chats. And if we do that and we keep our customer base strong and we continue to add to that, we'll be in a good place. The financial side will look after itself.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Sarah, Julie, from your point of view?
Well, I mean, I think the point's made well. I think it's about pitching the vision at the right level. And so obviously sitting around a board table, you're seeing your team, you're drowning in numbers, stats, figures, projections, etc. But you've got to take it right through the organisation. One practical thing I do is every quarter I have a meeting with a rep from every department, and we sit down and we talk about how the business is doing, and that filters out across the shop floor really well, because people get a pitch and you've got to be able to say the good with the bad, and then each quarter I give a business update to the whole business, and I think that helps people feel part of it, and they want to, there's a great element of trust that they know you've got a plan, and that you're working on what is going to keep them secure in jobs and hopefully give them benefits as well. Communication, as rightly said, is so important, and I think the other thing is, we get excited about vision and strategy and all that, and I love it with my new pad at the start of the year, and yes, it is a pencil and a piece of paper, and I do all this sort of mind mapping, and I get this really great strategy together, and if you take this year, it lasted about 20 minutes, and then COVID kicked in again, and we were back to the drawing board. I think the point is, keep refreshing that vision and keep being able to react to what's happening, whether it's from your customer base or whether it's from your staff and what you're hearing, and also being okay to say, oh, we got that wrong, but what are we going to do about it? And we're brilliant as leaders at focusing on what's not going great, but we've also got to really concentrate and promote what's going really well in our organisation, and make people feel like, well, my contribution may only have been a part of it, but it was valid and it counted. And I think if people hold you to the fact that they trust you've got the vision of where the business is going, if you are finding whatever outlet you have in your business to have that communication, whether it's newsletters, webinars, little dial-ins, whether it's practically, we have literally meetings in the canteen with a coffee and a good business update. I think people buy in then to that vision, that so when you ask them to step up for something, they want to step up for you because they're bought into what you're trying to do. Love it.
Brilliant. There's so much in there. Julie, over to you as well. That idea of embedding your vision, your goals, and turning it into something that everyone's pulling together, and also just thinking through the things that you look at and monitor, the KPIs.
Yeah. So our vision is to become a leading green consumables, leading brand in green consumables and safe trees. So what we do, the entire business model is based on ESG, and what we do is it's not just for myself, it's not just for investors or anyone, is to contribute to a very significant cause. It's COP26, now that one of the very important goal is to slow down global warming. And what we do by converting people from using tree-based products to use bamboo, we save trees, we reduce more trees being cut down, we preserve the forest. All our product has 65% less carbon, and all the small amount of carbon we do incur, we balance with the volunteers. We donate money to regenerate rainforest, and so everything we do is very much in line with the COP26 target. It's very is to contribute to a bigger cause to help slow down global warming. So this concept is simple to understand. People who join Cheeky Panda, it's not because like they for any other reason. People join Cheeky Panda because they want to be part of a team that contribute to do these things. And so is our customer. Our customers bought Cheeky Panda products because they want to contribute. They want to be part of the community that help with this important target. So this is we make sure this obviously people understand what we do, which is it's not very complicated. Our solution is bamboo, just because it grows so fast. Trees take 20-30 years, bamboo take 1 year. It's a grass, you cut it down, it grows back. It's just wonderful. So what we try to do is make sure people understand what we're doing, not just our team, for the wider audience, which is the challenging part, because the marketing as a small brand, it isn't that easy. But the metric we use is to focus on top line growth, which is turnover, because we have tree and carbon calculator, X amount of sales we made, then converted to X amount of tree saved, carbon balanced, and money donated. So top line growth, revenue is the main KPI, and underneath that, we break down into department KPI that support this growth. So this is the strategy we are adopting.
Yeah. So effectively it's flowing through, but again, you talked a lot there about importance of purpose, and I think you've said the words that people join you because they buy into exactly what Cheeky Panda's about, and about the environmental side of things as well, and it's that importance of purpose within this environment. I'm aware of time, and I did promise that we would finish on time, and there are a few questions that have come in. So I'm going to fire in the first one. We talked a bit about KPIs there, and the reality is when you say to someone, and we're going to monitor X, what happens is everyone says, oh, I'm being watched by Big Brother, right? So how do you make sure that when you're setting these targets, they're things that people own and accept, and they're not just seen as management are trying to control me?
Shall I go? I think it's how you present a KPI. I mean, I would hate to think if any of my people think it's just somebody's watching me. But ultimately, you set your budget, and we've got to hit various markers within the business. Otherwise, that's impacting on profitability, or we're letting a customer down. So I think how you present your KPIs and making sure you're measuring the right stuff, it's not new thinking, but it's just making sure each area of the business has their eye on the right measures leading into the senior team. And I think your senior team needs investment on the, on the key measures within the business. If you're someone who is totally orientated on creativity and marketing, getting overly excited on the health and safety KPIs is not really, your world. But you've got to, I think, as you bring that team together, they're enriched by having that exposure to those other areas, and that's really important for the business. But I think making sure people understand how it fits into the big picture and what you're trying to achieve shouldn't make a KPI something to worry about. It should be something that we strive to achieve.
Brilliant, love it. Others, any other comments there?
Yeah, it's that. So, for example, the PAs, when I spoke before about, we've actually peeled back what we wanted the PAs to look like in terms of KPIs and metrics, and wanted them to focus on really having just great conversations with customers and great phone calls. And it's that. And when we've done that, we then explained about the bigger goal and the customer service and what we're trying to achieve as a business. When you frame a KPI or a set of KPIs like that, people really get bought into it, and they're part of the greater good.
Perfect. Now, another question's coming in, again, just keeping things moving, but actually, Julie, they are questions I think that primarily relate to you, but possibly Sarah yourself, and apologies, Andrew, if you think it's you, but supply chain, and we've heard it, we've seen the headlines where cost of a shipping container from China to the UK has gone from like $2,000 to $20,000 or whatever the number is in terms of inflation. Disruption, can't get goods in, stuff stuck at the ports, etc. How do you manage that and match that, and what have you been doing to grapple with it to mean that you're not disadvantaged from everything going on?
Yeah, so it does bring a lot of challenges, and the challenges we facing one container from 2,000 to 20,000. It impacts our bottom line growth into profit margin. But we do now see the trend of shipping costs coming down slowly. So hopefully next year it will start to normalize itself. But as a business, we try to absorb as much cost as possible ourselves, because at this stage we don't want to massively increase the pricing, and then plus while we are in the process still promoting the Bamboo, promoting the course, So as a business, we do kind of absorb as much as we can, and look into which product has better margin that can offset the smaller margin we have to sacrifice due to the shipping price increase, and also bring in shipping. Before it was 2 months lead time, now it's 3 months because of the various port delays. So we implemented inventory forecasting software. So use kind of smarter software intelligence to help predict the stock level and make sure we got enough supply. So and things like this. Yes. But end of the day, it is hard, and it's not just impacting our business; it's impacting everyone who bought things from Europe, who supply things to overseas. But the fundamental things is to believe what we do, believe in our vision, believe that we can get through this period, and our community, our investors, our employees will believe in this. And when we do get through this, things will get a lot better.
Lovely. Listen, aware of time, and thank you, Julie. I think you've answered the questions that are fired in. We could spend ages on this. Big thank you very much, Sarah, Andrew, and Julie, for being part. You've been absolutely fantastic. I've loved it. Could carry on chatting to you a lot more. We will be doing more of these, so that's great. Just in terms of other things, we're doing roundtables around the country. So our offices all over the UK, we're going to do little roundtables, and we're going to invite businesses to come and talk about these kind of things with each other, try and support each other. You saw there that they were all learning from each other. So we're going to be doing that. So please do reach out to us. And if you are interested in being part of that, then we will get you invited and get you included. You can download our ebook, and also there's the research as well that we conduct with entrepreneurial businesses. Again, lots more of that's coming. And also, if anyone is interested, we actually do a diagnostic. Anyone on this call, we'll send it out to you for free. And basically that just allows you to, we talked about that bias, and we all have our areas that we tend to focus on. It looks across all the areas of the business, and it plays back to you where you might have higher, low scores. You can do that with your team, you can do that individually, but basically it's quite a useful one to show where you might have gaps and things that you need to focus on. So again, please do reach out to us. We'd be very happy to talk further. As I said, there will be further roundtables in the local regions, and we'll be doing more of these as well nationally. So big thank you, but most of all, a massive thank you to Sarah, Andrew, and Julie for joining us. I have learned so much in the past hour, and genuinely, I think you three have got brilliant businesses, and I'm not just saying that. So if anyone out there is wanting to buy anything that is kind of like household consumables in terms of tissues, then just look for the Cheeky Panda side. Listen, if you've got that inherited furniture or that sofa, don't go to those 3-letter acronym sofa stores. Instead, get in touch with Sarah's business. She'll absolutely make sure that you get the loved furniture, looking how it is, and everything else. And as I said, the new business launches Monday as well. So please do look at that, and please look. And again, Andrew, you know, fundamentally, the world has shifted, hasn't it? And if you want that kind of support, high service, you know, making sure that your customers are engaged with all the way through to really looking after the people around you, then yeah,
can I also be a little bit cheeky in the end? We are doing a 26% off, 26% discount to support COP26.
Oh, lovely.
So if you are interested in making your toilet paper a little bit more sustainable, check cheekypanda.com.
Yeah, perfect. So, and you know, I didn't say to the guys that we were going to do that. That's why they were here. But you know, we're all in it together, aren't we? So big thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time, and thank you to the panelists for taking part. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.